know John very well. I've presented with John. I've gone to his presentations. He's one of the first guys I ever spoke to when it came to teen suicide when I first started this. I was at my high street house the first time I talked to him. I can remember sitting at the table and somebody gave me his number. So how many years ago was that? High Street. I don't even know when we moved there. So it had to be 15 years ago anyway, or longer.
Pre-Sweethearts and Heroes? Or
Sweethearts and Heroes had just started.
Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe 14 or 15 years ago. John really helped me out, and John and I'll talk every year a couple times.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you want something to play with?
Oh, I didn't know if it was a mic, but
no, it's not a mic. No.
Yeah.
Sometimes I like to just hold on to different things.
Yeah.
But that's the lawnmower thing. Yeah.
The malleability, man.
I like doing it just because it's like it just feels good to have something in my hands.
Yeah.
That's what
a lot of kids do. That's one of the great points of the talking piece, is it regulates emotion. And they don't realize what it's doing because they're always playing with it, And but watch anybody with a set of beads, or watch anybody with anything, and even their own fingers. They're regulating their emotions, right? They're
by messing with
something. Sure. And so putting something that's obviously people came up with the fidget spinners for a little different reason, but it's the same principle. People will, with a pencil, right?
Yeah.
So.
I've noticed that, like, even with myself, like if I'm on the phone with someone, I don't know if this is for other generations, but my generation, I used to have anxiety, like calling in a pizza or something to Domino's or something, I would be kind of stressed about doing it. And nowadays, I speak the best when I'm walking around on the phone with somebody, like to clearly think.
Yeah, sure. Motion, man, motion.
Yeah.
It's a number one brain rule, And it doesn't have to be giant motion. You don't have to be sweating your cookies off.
It's sprinting while you're...
Yeah, just move around, it releases things. All of those neurochemicals just flow when you're moving.
Yeah.
It's just how the brain was designed to learn, is in motion.
When did you get into, like, honestly, learning about the science of the brain? Well, is this something you were fascinated with?
No, so yeah, that's a great question. I was a psych major. When I went to college, I always knew what I wanted was psychology. I didn't really take any psychology in high school. I was just always around different people growing up, from my childhood. Mm-hmm. And I always had this weird fascination. And a lot of kids have that, with psychology. They take a psych course, they learn some weird psychological trick and some little mnemonic device to remember something, and they're like, oh, this is great, and they jump into psychology, and then they find the area that they enjoy in psychology. But for me, it was just trying to understand people. And then when I went to college for it, I had a professor of mine who wrote the textbook. He also had a genetic I don't know if it was multiple sclerosis. I don't think it was MS, but it was something that attacked the myelination of the neuron, of the axon. But he had some kind of immune disorder like that. But anyway, he became one of my favorite professors. But his course was on sensation and perception. And I must have taken it my second, maybe my third or fourth semester in school, and I just fell in love with it. And it was the eyeball, of all things, how the eyeball works. And then you went into the other senses, hearing, and how psychologically and physiologically, what it produces, these senses, and how they create really our reality and our perspective. I didn't realize I was doing this, 28 years ago, 29 years ago. And I think, and eventually he asked me to help tutor the class.
Sweet.
So I took a statistics class with him too, which wasn't my favorite, but he actually asked me because I was just so into it. And really just starts with that neuron, understanding it. So I have a weird amount of information still in my head when it comes to the actual neuron. So I've just always paid attention to the science because I always liked it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now it's kind of exploded around us over the last decade. Teachers, want to understand that science, whatever the heck that even means.
Yeah. No, that's wild, honestly. And just, when you were talking about the eye, a little while ago, you sent me a photo of a dress and you asked me what colors I saw on it.
Yeah. That one was famous, the dress one.
Yeah. We'll put it up on the screen just to see what everyone else sees.
I like the sneaker, though. The sneaker
I don't know that one.
Come on, you don't know the shoe one?
We'll slap that one up there, too. Was it like some Nikes or something?
No,
What is it?
you know what I'm talking about, the shoe. I put it in circle training. That's why it's so important.
See it.
You've never seen the shoe?
No, I don't think I've seen the shoe.
Come
There
on.
were a couple floating around, but the dress one was iconic to me.
Right, the dress
That
one was
even-
iconic. I think I just picked the shoe one because I'm so curious to see what you see.
Yeah.
Right here.
All right, cool. All right,
Are you ready?
I'm ready. Yep.
3, 2, close
This
your
is
eyes.
on the screen as well.
All right, hold
This is on
on.
the screen as well.
What do you see, Abby?
I don't tell it.
Shoot. What do you see,
I've seen
Abby?
that one
White
before.
and pink.
White and pink.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
Same white and pink.
It's fascinating to me.
Well, what do you see?
Oh, that's gray and teal.
Okay.
I can
Interesting.
never, ever, ever see white and pink.
The dress, yeah. So basically, I remember this. This is just what I think so wild here. When you're talking about the eye, and kind of like you mentioned perception and stuff,
Yeah.
and this is just one example of where you will not see what I see in this example, right? Correct? You
In
didn't
this
see-
example, sure.
Yeah. So
It would be hard for me to see it because this is based on a lighting assumption and the background light that is really lighting up that shoe. It's the background light that causes it, not the actual shoe itself. Because the real shoe is pink and white.
well, how come I don't see though? How come I don't get affected by that then? Is that something with my eye or my brain? Or
No,
what is
it's the background light. When you look at this light, this white light,
Yeah.
right? It's comprised of every
that? Color.
color in the spectrum,
Yeah.
right? They're just different nanometers of light, and they're different wavelengths of light. Like red is a very long wavelength of light, and this is the spectrum of light that we can see. And there's no really such thing as color. Most people don't really truly understand this. There's no such thing as color. It's that this pink here is the nanometer of light that's reflected. That pigment is reflected back into your eye, right? This white light comes in, it hits this object. Most of the wavelengths are absorbed into it,
Yeah.
but this is the wavelength that comes back into your retina and registers at
Pink or
650 nanometers of light or whatever that, I don't know what pink is, but it's a rather long wavelength of light. But anyway, but the background light
Yeah.
that is around this object, right? You see that background light as I believe the pink and white, you see a very warm background of light, where my brain was constructed to see a colder background of light, a different wavelength of light in the background that you can't just observe.
Yeah.
Right? It's the light around it that's causing, your brain to interpret that as a certain color.
yeah.
Which, I can't say I fully understand
Yeah.
why the brain was constructed that way. I'm sure there's a real
Tell you why.
distinct reason, whether it's a genetic reason, or whether it's an environmental thing
Interesting.
that developed as your neurons started to come together.
Yeah.
That wiring happened. But anyway, it's really interesting, the whole notion of background, because I spin it into the background of life. It's very much what Plato said: be kind to everyone you meet. You never know what battle they're facing. And it's so much easier to deal with someone when you know where that behavior's coming from. Like, why is that guy being a jerk?
Yeah.
Well, his wife just kicked him out last night, and his 15-year-old daughter told him to screw off as well, and he's got bills to pay, his car's broken down, and you got in his way, and he said something hurtful or disrespectful. Does it make it right? No. But how would you deal with those situations? How would you deal with the background of life? You might have the skills to do it. Maybe he doesn't even have the skills to deal with it.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe he's never had a dad or a mom that showed him how to regulate certain emotions or deal with certain, challenges of life. And so when you can reframe someone's perspective into the way that their brain, their senses have interacted with the world, and that spectrum is so big because it's not just the physical interaction, it's the emotional interaction, it's the social interaction. All of it makes up our background of life. And that's why we're so complicated as creatures. And so, but one of the cool things about the simple picture is we're picking one sense, this visual sense.
Yeah.
And I love doing this with students because you put that picture out there and maybe 10 or 20% will see the pink and white.
Yeah.
And kind of a fun story, and I know I'm going off a little bit here, but kind of a fun story was I went down to a school that we have a very good relationship with, and I did a circle. Now let me back up. I said that wrong. In the morning, I went and presented to about 60 state troopers, sheriffs, local police officers, mental health people, like 60 of them for this county. And I put that on a screen because we were talking about perspective. And how is your perspective built? And I'm trying to give them one of these little lessons, and very quickly. And I put that on there. This is the first time it ever happened to me. 100% of the people in that room, 100% saw teal and gray.
Wild.
I know, it kind of ruined my presentation.
Yeah.
I was like, come on, somebody. Nobody. I was like, oh my God, this is horrible. So I finished the presentation and kind of made it work.
Yeah.
So the SRO that was there,
Yeah.
he and I went back to the school because I wanted to do some work with some students. I pulled about 15 of their leadership students together. We sat in this circle, did a standard circle. Afterwards, he's like, hey, pull that picture out. I said, oh, okay. And I pulled the picture out, and I started next to him in the circle.
Yeah.
And it was gray and teal, 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 gray and teal. And I'm like, oh, dude, this is, because he wouldn't believe me.
Yeah.
He just couldn't believe that other people could see that differently.
Yeah.
We get to the last young lady, the last one, and she's like, pink and white. And what happens when everybody else sees gray and teal?
You're definitely a liar. You're definitely messing with
Everybody's head went, doof.
Yeah.
And he would, this police officer, 25-year sheriff, he just was blown away. You talk to him today, he still talks about it. He's like, I couldn't believe it. But immediately the students started to argue with each other.
Of course.
Or with her.
Yeah.
It's not. And I just looked at him, I was like, that's the reaction I was looking for earlier in the day. I want them to get in an argument over a stupid color.
Yeah.
Right? Because it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
But the point is, she'll never be able to see that gray and teal, ever. She'll always see pink and white. I mean, if you can manipulate the background light a little bit, but for the most part, that's what she'll always see. And that has really big implications,
Of course.
when it comes to humans and them dealing with each other and getting along and cooperation and, seeing eye to eye or not seeing eye to eye or being okay with it.
Yeah.
A buddy of mine once told me that trust is believing someone or in something when your instincts tell you that they're wrong. Now
And
think about that.
Yeah. Clear indication.
Dude, no way. I'll never believe you. I see it with my own two eyes.
Yeah.
Like, I can't believe that is pink and white, ever. But that's what you two see. Now, I can say you're a liar. I don't believe you. I'm looking at it with my own two eyes, and now we're at this impasse.
Weird.
But isn't that what happens with different intergroups with human beings?
Yeah.
And they just can't bend the knee and say, you know what? I trust you. Even when my instincts tell me that I'm wrong.
Yeah.
I trust you.
Yep.
Isn't that empowering for you, though, when I say that?
Yeah, that's wild. It's still like, that's just, I'm thinking about so many different things about that. And it's like, when you say the word instinct, like, I feel like literally seeing it is beyond instinct. That's almost like an individual truth. I'm just saying it. I know that's a whole nother can of worms, but like, you know, like instincts to me feel like your gut tells you they're wrong, but this is proof they're wrong. This is the colors that are, you know, so it's like almost even more like powerful.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk about, because you brought up intergroups, and this kind of concept that is another thing that, you know, bounced around a lot on the internet during, like, you know, the lockdown stuff. You know, people were not face to face, and they spent more time online. They found themselves in and around people online with common viewpoints as them. Echo chambers, what they say. Yeah. So like when you bring up the SROs and they're all seeing the same color, is this a good thing or a poor thing? Or is there a balance, or does it not matter at all? Like just the willingness to hear someone else. Like, I'm just curious what your take is on that.
Yeah, Dr. Peter Weinman's actually done a little bit of work on this. But I think what you're talking about is a closed network versus an open network. And there's a lot to be said about that, but to give you a brief understanding, I read a book several years ago by Abigail Schreier called Irreversible Damage. And when this whole trans movement exploded, it was the first time in human history we've seen an explosion of something like that we could really document. Because we just could collect data around it. And there was 1,000% increase in the United States, and a couple of 1,000% increase. I don't want to give you, false data, but 4,000% just sticks in my head in Europe, where especially young adolescent, pre-adolescent teen girls just, like, what happened? It couldn't be that just human beings have always felt this way, and all of a sudden they were given permission to feel this way, and so they did.
That doesn't add up.
It doesn't add up. That didn't add up. So Abigail Schreier is a researcher. She got a lot of flack on the book because the entire movement got very upset. And she's been a big supporter of different marginalized communities in her own personal life. So anyway, she started to look at this because she said something doesn't make sense. And what she traces most of it back to are these closed networks that just kind of naturally form with humans. You get interested in something and you gravitate towards another group of people. It's that relatedness that Edward Deci and Richard Ryan talk about. It's one of the great psychological needs for a human, is to have relatedness with other humans. But what happened online with a lot of these young people is they gravitated towards these rooms that were just talking about this one topic, this one ideology, this one belief system, whatever you want to call it. And what happened, and this is one of the big dangers, is that they're very impressionable, especially at a younger age. And when you have someone that is, I'm kind of hesitating because I don't want to believe that people intentionally manipulated groups of young people, but what happened is they all started to play off a very similar script. If you're feeling this way, I'll give you the answers for your parents, for your friends, for your teachers, for administrators, for the counselor, the psychologist. I'll give you what you could say to them. And I don't think that's a totally bad thing.
No.
It's what we do. Yeah. It's role playing. But the role playing for these young people wasn't, am I really feeling this way? Or am I taking other aspects of my life that I'm having challenges? Because in my childhood, there was always a group of young people that were marginalized, felt different, felt strange, and they kind of gravitated into one little group, and they communed with each other, and they learned from each other, and they spoke the same language. They developed the same mindset, the same thoughts, the same concepts, but it was a really kind of controlled small group. And I think most people can think back to their high school years or middle school years, and they can kind of put those pieces together. But this was on such a massive scale that all of these young people were saying the same things. They all knew where to get their first binder. They all knew how to get their doses of testosterone when they're ready. And all these things that they didn't have to think through. It was like, here's the answer.
Yeah. And
what happens in a closed network is people just kind of feed off of each other. And this became apparent. We nailed this 60, 70 years ago. I can't give you the exact date or timeline, but when we started to notice what happened when, in the psychological world, when you housed young people together that had eating disorders, it typically always makes it worse. Why? Because you house these young people together, mostly young women, and they just kind of feed off of the same ideology, right? Body image issues, whether it's being too skinny, too heavy, all the emotional relief that they feel like they get because they're just talking. It's like people get together and they just complain with their friends and it makes them feel better about life, about themselves. And so kind of to hand it back to you, closed networks aren't a horrible thing. They're wonderful for solving big problems. You get a bunch of doctors together and they can maybe solve an issue. You put a bunch of physicists together, they might solve or come up with some good questions or answers. Yeah. You wouldn't want to take a garbage man and throw him in the middle of that conversation with a bunch of medical doctors when they're, talking about trying to solve, a medical condition.
Of course.
Right? You want to keep a very closed network so that the information, they can grow and develop together. But when social issues come up, this is where I just tell teachers to be careful. I always find, as long as it's not divisive, as long as it's not hurtful, as long as it's not trying to, destroy someone else's perspective or belief system, it's probably a good thing to take a bunch of different perspectives that were developed out of everyone's perceptions and bring them together. And of course, our mechanism for that is circle.
Right.
And I just tell teachers all the time, keep them as open as possible. Don't let it become a closed loop network, because all of a sudden what will happen is one group will just take over that circle. And it'll just be about one thing, that belief system, that ideology, the challenge that they're trying to work through. And then they take that and they, that's already part of their life. It's already what they talk about all the time. And most young people that come to a circle that really want to be exposed to all kinds of cultures and perspectives, I've just found that they're like, this isn't for me. Because we're just talking about this one issue that's important to this group of people, and good, they should be talking about it. But that's all we talk about every time we're here.
Yeah, it can kind of repel almost in a way.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. It does become a little repellent, but I've just found most young people like, you know what, this group just isn't for me.
Yeah.
And that's what you want. You want the diversity of opinions, the diversity of culture, the diversity of thought.
Yeah.
When young people come together, because their brains are growing.
Yeah.
They're developing. And you need to be able to see all of these different things if you truly want someone to, assimilate properly into, from childhood into adulthood.
How do you go about kind of like welcoming in and encouraging those other perspectives or viewpoints? How do you get them to say this is actually a place where you can be and we want to hear what you have to say? How do you go about really doing that?
Just make it fun.
Just start out. Yeah, there you go.
Just make it fun.
Yeah.
Like, who doesn't like to have fun?
Yeah.
When a little kid is hurt, what is a kid a couple years older than themselves do to them? Even if it's their feelings are hurt, but if they skin their knee, if they come in a bad mood, what does the older kid always try and do?
Cheer them up, or
try and cheer them up. Try and play something with them.
Yeah.
So for me, I wish I had the quote memorized, but there's a wonderful Patch Adams quote. You ever watch Patch Adams?
Who's that?
Oh, come on.
What is that? Is it a cartoon or something?
Have you ever seen Patch Adams?
No, what is that?
That's got to be on the screen.
Yeah, what is that?
I actually had it in one of our Brave level classes.
Patch Adams.
Robin Williams movie.
Okay.
And I think the doctor was in South America. This guy's name, real life guy's name is Patch Adams. and he was a real medical doctor that dealt, I think, with kids that were terminal. It's been years since I watched it, but he was a lunatic. He would wear, a clown nose, and he'd act like a complete goofball. And the movie is beautiful, man.
Really?
It is one of the greatest movies ever. But the quote, I wish I could have it. You can put it on the screen. I'll send it to you. It says something to the effect of, is that noise going to bother you? All right.
It's good.
This happens on the lawn. This happens on the lawn.
Yeah.
Right? There's a truck. The dump truck is backing up.
Wave to him.
Wave to the garbage man.
See ya.
Right? Come join our group, garbage man.
There you go.
Come join the circle. Come join the conversation. But it says something like, play and fun attack alienation like a frontal attack or assault.
Yeah.
Like play and fun just attacks a kid that's alienated.
Yeah.
Right? You roll him a ball. It's
Yeah.
pretty tough for the kid not to kick it back to you or throw it back to you. Right? You have a little
Universal
puppy.
language.
Yeah, dude. Like you can take play is so incredible. We don't want to go down this path too much because I'll just talk about play.
Right.
But play crosses species. Think about that.
That's wild.
What else do we do that crosses species?
Yeah.
That a little kid will start playing with a dog.
And vice versa.
Or a cat, and the cat will do the same thing.
Yeah.
We'll play with a dog. I have a video of my literally killer dog, that passed away a couple years ago, with a ferret in his mouth.
Controlling it, but not hurting it.
Not hurting it.
Yeah.
Because it's part of his pack. And you play with your pack. You don't hurt your pack. And this dog is literally a killer. It's part wolf. But it wouldn't hurt this ferret because it knew, because we signaled that this little guy was part of our pack. But what does it do with it? It plays with it.
Yeah.
I'll give you a picture. You can put a video of that in there.
Do you have it on?
Dude. Like in his mouth.
So this is interesting to me. This just sparked just a question. I don't know what's going on.
Can we just finish that? Just to land that plane, and you can get back to it. But when people say, "What do you do?" When you make it fun, it just invites everyone in, and it shows the similarities that we have, and it's really the beginning foundation to relationship. I think Pat's really convinced me of this. The guy that works with us, he's like, Tom, you always want to jump into some heavier emotions because I don't usually have as much time to work with a group of young people. But Pat has really convinced me that, and I know this, but play and fun and joy are just universal across cultures, across generations. And if you connect people that way, then we'll get to the good stuff, right?
Yeah.
Even though that is the good stuff.
Yeah.
But once you just find that common thread that they can share, and as long as it's some fun that they can all participate in, and I actually had a guy once in circle training refuse to do the activator because he hated phys ed class growing up. This had a big impact on me. And like he didn't want to look embarrassed or stupid.
Doing physical things.
Yeah, because he was terrible in phys ed class and he was picked last and he was the butt of everybody's joke. So a lot of our activation is not about who wins and who loses. It's about the physical expression of vulnerability, which leads to the emotional expression. So anyway, just that to me is just, doesn't matter where I go. If I get a group of people, you can rip out any kind of activator and just start having fun with people, and they'll just lockstep get in line, and most of them will just. But it'll also tell you too if maybe they're not doing well emotionally, and sometimes people don't want to play when they're not doing well emotionally. So. That'll tell you a lot too. If somebody doesn't want to play, like, why don't they want to play? Yeah. Or maybe they never learned how to play. Yeah. So anyway.
Well, there's just so much there. Like there's just a ton of stuff there from intergroups and you said closed versus
Open networks, yeah.
But when you were describing your dog and the ferret, that's especially the killer instincts of your dog.
Who has bitten people before.
I know. Who's gotten after it. It scared me before too, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
When I first met him.
Yeah.
And the ferret, you know, that is just, there's some wisdom too, being completely different as individuals in what they like to do, what they like to eat, what they find fun, and then coming together. And when you said pack, the dog recognized the ferret as one of its own.
Yeah.
And that's just so neat, because just because they're different in so many ways, why couldn't they still treat each other with dignity and care and play and transcend all that stuff?
Well, I guess the dog gets hungry.
Yeah, well, eventually, right? Then what happens, right? Playtime's over.
Playtime's over when you get hungry.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, keep that at bay.
You know, it's funny, and this is a side note, just so you know, there's we are seeking creatures. That's just what we're designed to do, to seek. And consumatory hunger reward is different than our regular reward system that drives us forward. You know, the dopaminergic system that drives us to do things, to seek out as humans. The consumatory reward system is different.
How so? It's not dopamine or anything? What is it?
We think about it this way, just the layman's. When you're hungry, does anything else really even matter? Like when you're really hungry.
No, I want.
That's why people get hangry. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
It's that consumatory reward system is different than the standard dopaminergic system that sets up either these longer short-term goals. You know, so just think about it. Like if you have some work to do, and you're excited about it, and you're going to get this project done, and you get working on it for 6, 7, 8, 10, 12 hours, but then you get hungry. That system just takes over. Mm-hmm. So that consumatory reward system's a little bit
more intense.
Oh yeah, it can become very intense and can be very controlling. It also makes you wonder. I learned this when I was fasting. We're off on a tangent here.
This is good. This is fantastic.
Well, I learned this when I was fasting.
Yeah.
And what it really made me question, and it was actually a little scary for me. What other systems underneath the hood are really in control?
Yeah.
Because when that one takes over, like I have a daughter that gets really hangry, right? And like watch out when she's hangry because she'll chew your arm off to get, you know. But what really got me to think deeply about is what other systems or drives are in place that really control us. Very much like, you know, the consumatory reward system, that we don't really pay attention to until we become mindful to it, until we really kind of step outside of the picture and look at the picture as it's operating, if that makes sense. I don't know if it does.
No, it does. It does.
I often, it's funny, man, I go off on some crazy tangents when it comes to this, but a lot of times, and I think this is because of circle. I shouldn't use my wife as an example, but I will. But sometimes when we get in little arguments, which is natural and it's good, and conflict resolution is a skill that needs to be practiced. Because of the amount of circle that I do, I find myself when I'm in a conversation with my wife, we'll call it a conversation, where we just have different diverging points of view.
Yeah.
I find myself sometimes like disembodied and like out there watching the two of us go back and forth, right? And that's how I kind of regulate myself today. Like, Tom, did you really just say that to her? Like, maybe you shouldn't talk to her that way, or maybe you shouldn't phrase it like that, or maybe you should reframe it like this. And I'm doing this in my head as I'm having a conversation with her. There's like a me out here that's watching this conversation.
Like an objective take on
Yeah.
Like
and I have a hard time describing it, especially to her or to anybody else I'm doing this with. But I bring this up because I think between circle and this kind of little epiphany I had during my fasting was I was able to kind of step outside of myself and look back at myself and saying, wow, that hunger drive really dominates my behaviors. And even when I'm just short with someone, or I'm in a conversation, I'm not really paying attention to you because I'm hungry and I'm thinking about eating.
Lack of presence.
Lack of presence. And you think, what other systems and drives do human beings have that they're not even aware of?
Yeah.
Like probably most of them. And that's really kind of scary. I just get back to that notion of, it kind of scared me a little bit. Like when I had this realization that, am I really in control of my behaviors? I feel like I am.
Yeah.
But you really you do a 3-day fast or a 4-day or a 5-day fast where you've only consumed water.
Yeah.
You have these moments, I say it's the Reaper, and he comes knocking, that 6-7 hours into this first fast, you're like, ah. And all I've learned is you have to get through that, and he kind of goes away. But then he comes back next meal time, really with the vengeance.
If you smell something, or if other people are eating, your teeth start sweating, you're ready to rock.
Yeah, so anyway, I don't mean to go off on a side note about
there's
that.
so much to it. The Stoics thought curbing your appetite and having control of your appetite was one of the greatest virtues, like being able to do that. I didn't know that it was a different reward system.
Yeah, you can look that up.
Which makes me kind of wonder, that experiment where you put 2 marshmallows in front of a kid? And it's supposed to symbolize delayed gratification if they choose to double
studies.
Yeah. Is that more intense because it taps into something that's edible as opposed to $2 or $1? You can have $2 tomorrow. I just wonder if that's if it's also, or maybe that's evident of, wow, this is supreme control because you can kind of control something that's higher. You know what I'm saying? Kind of like.
Yeah, the food industry figured that out, and it was the addiction of sugar.
The low shelf items with the colors and the...
It's the sugar addiction.
Yeah.
I just read something the other day, I wish I could find it, but it was a set of experiments with rats, and they gave them all the cocaine or something that they could consume, and then they gave them all the sugar that they could consume, and then they exposed the rats to both of them. They didn't care about the cocaine, they cared about the sugar.
Really?
Yeah.
Wild,
man. Wild. And then what it does to their brains, you've seen the one in the bathtub where the rats are swimming around?
No.
Really fascinating.
It's a video?
Yeah, it's a video where they put them in these tubs or these, but these rats have been fed sugar their whole lives. And the ones that are not fed sugar can, within seconds, get out. There's like a little island in the center, and the rat will just right up there.
Yeah, it becomes obvious.
But that rat that has grown up on sugar, on refined sugar, it just swims around. It'll swim right by the island. It shows the lack of clarity that a lot of these sugars, the impact that they have on our brains. Because our brains, 20% of all of your consumption of carbohydrates, I think, is through your brain. Like 20% of all your carbohydrates right here, sugar.
Yeah.
And so your brain feeds on it. But that refined sugar that's just no good for you, your brain's going to feed on it too, but it's going to make you nice and cloudy.
The output's going to be
bad output. That's a good way to think about it.
Yeah, that's kind of scary, actually.
Scary, because that's what our kids eat.
Yeah.
Garbage.
Yeah.
And then if you look at marginalized communities, and
right, yeah,
if you go into a grocery store in Penfield, New York, you aren't going to see the mass amounts of garbage food. But you go into inner city Rochester and walk into one of their grocery stores.
Oh yeah,
garbage.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, like these what do they call them? I studied this food, whatever, like the socioeconomic thing with food and how it's related, and it's actually, it seems very unfair and shocking that it's done that way.
Yeah, but there's lots of factors. People have to. Of course. People have to be able to afford.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, listen, there's a trend where like inner cities are doing more gardening and they're like doing full blocks. You see any of that stuff?
Yeah, beautiful.
Did you ever grow up gardening or doing anything like that?
Well, the first 10 years of my life were in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
And, we lived, there wasn't a lot of grass around us, but there was a park across the street that my dad commandeered.
What do you mean by that?
Well, it was just a big field on the side of the train tracks,
Yeah.
a little hill, and my dad, it was just all overgrown weeds. It was basically, I don't want to say garbage land, but no one could use the land, couldn't build there.
Right.
And my dad just started to mow into it a little bit. And I think I have a picture of Abby and my own children on that piece of land taking a picture back at our house.
Really?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I can...
Yeah, send it.
Yeah, I actually just sent it to my mom the other day because my dad and I were talking about stone houses because it was a big old stone house.
Yeah.
But my dad, when I was just a little kid, started his first garden there. And so, yeah, even when I was a little kid in the city, I was exposed to gardening. And then, of course, we moved to New York, and my dad got 2.5 acres, and he just wouldn't stop gardening. Huge gardens, mostly vegetables.
That'd be cool to do like some kind of like communal style garden. It's kind of love your lawn-y, you know what I mean? Kind of, but like I'm just saying like incorporate like nature elements, mindfulness, all this kind of stuff, community kind of interacting, sharing responsibility over your food source you distribute, and kind of, I don't know, it just would be kind of neat.
Dude, there's so much
there.
depth to that.
Yeah.
There's the patience of things growing, there's weeding, there's the stepping on the grass and how it grounds you. You can measure this instantly with people. Just standing on the grass and the grounding that takes place. But there's just so many different elements. And it's interesting because even if you look at it from a religious point of view, a Judeo-Christian point of view, whether you believe this or not, the story was put together in a garden.
Yeah.
It is kind of interesting that more and more people are returning to that way of life.
Yeah.
Even all the gentlemen farmers. I was talking to someone in central New York, and a real estate person, and they were just really interested in the amount of people moving out of cities to upstate New York.
Yeah.
And most of them are doing the exact same thing. They want a sustainable way of life.
Yeah.
But Tolstoy also did the same thing. Here's a guy that was, filthy rich, had everything at his fingertips, and
is Russian?
Russian, yeah, Leo Tolstoy. And he basically, even to the point where he contemplated suicide, and he didn't think life really had much meaning until he went back to the land and worked the land. And he just really gave up his entire lifestyle just to work side by side with the workers in the field. One of the greatest novelists, maybe the greatest novelist in world history. But he just found that solace and that peace and that oneness with, whatever this crazy thing, universe, life, planet means. Yeah.
Getting back to the roots of your humanity.
Yeah, that's how where he found peace and meaning was. But all the Stoics did too. I mean, there were Stoics that said every answer we need is in nature.
Yeah.
Just figure out.
The first philosophers were all about that, for real.
Yeah. So there's something about the lawn, man, about the garden.
Yeah.
That is healing, is, growing. It's all these things.
I think it's not like, you good on time, by the way?
What?
Are you all right on time?
Yeah.
For a little bit?
Yeah.
When you say, grounding, like to me, originally, like my brain takes it as like, oh yeah, you're touching the ground, I'm grounding, like that's what I'm doing. But lately you've been into the electrical contractor field.
Yeah.
And grounding electricity is a crucial element for all types of electricity. Like the term grounding could also be kind of taken as an energy anchoring of some sort.
Yeah.
All of these electric boxes are grounded. Every light is grounded. Your water gets grounded because electricity isn't going to your water at your house. So I'm just curious, like this kind of like intuitive, instinctual thing that we have to kind of trust how it feels good when we ground ourselves. I wonder if there's any true like energy being grounded into the earth, like to kind of regulate yourself. You know what I mean, kind of?
Yeah, I wish I had more knowledge on this. I haven't spent a lot of time looking at this, but everything has a polarity.
Yeah.
Right? Like negative or positively charged.
Marinating in an electromagnetic field.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah. And, even these thoughts, these vibrational thoughts that we have, and some of the newest quantum exploration shows us that even matter at a subatomic level is just vibrational strings, and they're positively, negatively charged. Way above my pay grade.
Yeah, right. Well,
but
yeah.
If you go from that quantum level up, physics change, they say, at that level versus the physics that we're used to. But there has to be an interplay between the quantum world and our world, and probably frequency is either similar or some kind of overlap between the two that my brain is just will never be prepared for.
Yeah, I saw something the other day. Anyone who says that they understand quantum physics does not understand quantum physics, because it's just insane.
Yeah.
Dude. It's just
but even
insane.
some of the great quantum physicists of today will say the same thing, that we don't really know anything about this. So anyway, we'll go off into the weeds
on that.
On something we don't know what we're talking about. We'll just make people believe.
Yeah, we'd whack that.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
that one off.
Did you want to bring up Ohm's law at all? You messaged me something the other day. You want to?
Oh, it doesn't matter. It's we're talking about this whole electrical thing, and I took a bit of a deep dive on Ohm's law because we're working with electrical contractors, and I had a call with a contractor, and we were just talking about the structure of what we do, how we do it, and it's funny because I tied a little bit of another contractor sent me a note this morning, and she's the owner of the company, and she thought the little tie into the neuron, because neurons fire through electricity. It's the action potential. It's what screams down that axon.
That's just wild in itself.
Yeah.
That's just wild.
Yeah. And so, I think maybe everything does come back to this. But Ohm's law is pretty interesting because it was really in context of voltage drop. And voltage drop is a really interesting concept. And outside of the electrical world, I think Dr. Peter Weinman did some work on this too. Everybody goes to a conference, and I've been to hundreds of them between education, the railroad business, the restaurant business. And you go to a big conference and you get all this great information and you're like, oh my God, this just changed my life forever. And then you go home and 6 months later you look and there's that same binder that changed your life forever on the shelf and you haven't opened it up again. That's voltage drop, right? The more time and distance on a power line, you send volts out. You get to the other end and you measure it, there's a measurable amount of voltage that is dropped. And so I'll use the Marine Corps as an example. I have a great video of the head of the Marine Corps talking about the suicide rate. It's just skyrocketed in the military. And the guy who heads the Marine Corps makes a video and just giant voltage. I'm not doing this anymore. And you could even say that a Sweethearts and Heroes presentation is big voltage. So you have a power line or any kind of conductor, and here's the voltage. This just took me some time to figure out, so I'm just trying to educate. So you're like, oh, wow, I get it. Mm-hmm. Voltage doesn't really matter. I mean, it does. If we have 50,000 volts here, that's a lot of volts, not good.
Yeah.
But can this line handle that kind, right? You have to have a certain gauge of wire, to handle those kind of volts. But when you look at Ohm's law, it says voltage, right? V equals I times R. And so what is I? I is the current. And current is, I think, is what'll kill you, because that's really what's being pushed through that conductor, right? So, and there's this inverse relationship, as voltage goes out, the resistance, that's the R, right, changes the current along that pipe, that line, that wire, that conductor. So that's kind of the original concept, because then you got to think, how do I reduce the resistance? And what is the resistance? And when we take it from an electrical world into the real world, you start saying, what would cause the voltage to drop? Yeah, I got this great message that I want to scream out. I want to shout to the world. But when it gets, across the conductor, the group of people, what comes out the other end is a trickle. The lights are pretty dim. The light bulb is barely lit. And you're like, wow, what do I have to do? So you got to push harder on the voltage. That's what most people think.
Yeah.
But to me, that's not the issue.
Right.
To me, the issue is, let's look at the conductor, the people. And I just have kind of spun this to, you got this string of people.
Yeah.
This string, which is your conductor, it's your piece of copper wire. And how strong is a string? Not very strong.
Yeah.
Right? The more weight you put on different parts of it, it might break, whatever.
Whatever.
But for me, this is the group of people, and if you turn it into a circle, this line that you have, there's no greater structure for strength on planet Earth than a circle, right? Because it distributes the weight equally across the whole circle. If you have just a line like a bridge, right, you have to have arches and things to distribute that load. Well, the circle does it perfectly. That's why every culvert underneath the road is a circle. It's not a square, because that square just can't take the load. It can't equally distribute that. So for me, when I think about the structure of circle and the importance of it, is you're taking all these people that are the conductor. People are the conductor, right? And you're saying, how do we make them stronger? Well, we put them in a circle so that they can equally distribute the challenges of life that they're going through, right? One person may be going through divorce, right? One person may have just lost someone. Well, you need other people along that line to distribute that stress, that trauma, that anxiety through. And versus just trying to come up with one answer, shout it from the rooftop, send it down the line, and you wonder why on the other end we have very little current coming out, because it's a bad model. Where if we can I'm trying to bring this back to something, because I'm trying to fit this in to this conversation, which is a tricky one, because it's not designed for the conversation we were just in. Maybe it is. I just got to think about it. But anyway, it's just a really neat way to conceptualize the importance of circle. Yeah. And the importance of reducing the resistance along the conductors, which are the people. Yeah. And you could make a list of all the different resistance points. Yep. There's personal things that take place in people's lives. There's even, like with electrical contractors, I was talking to another contractor this morning, and he wrote me back because he read this, and he said, even short jobs versus busy jobs are points of resistance. Really? Yeah, because if you have a short job, guys, like, where am I going next? I gotta get to my next job. I gotta fix this one, do it quick so I can get there, because I don't want to miss out on this work. That's some resistance. Yeah. Right? That guy's taking his eye off what he's supposed to be doing in terms of safety.
Not stable necessarily.
That's right.
Because he's thinking of something
else.
And
the same thing with a job that's super busy. There's too many moving parts. Yeah. It's got me distracted, going me two different directions. So when you talk about resistance, I mean, I could probably create a list of thousands of things that cause resistance across any group of people or conductors. And what's the best way to deal with that resistance? In a circle. Because now you have a whole bunch of people that can contribute to the success of whatever we're trying to get through or fix or, overcome. And so the greatest structure is that circle, so that everyone can commune together, can give different perspectives.
Distribute the load as well.
Distribute the load as well. Whether it's just one person that's facing the challenge or multiple. Or the whole group is facing the challenge. But we know this, that you just can move mountains when you have everyone moving in the right direction. I mean, Good to Great, the great book by Collins, just get everybody on the bus, get it moving in the right direction, and you'll accomplish greatness.
Yeah. Do you want to hear something I just thought of when you were talking about this? Because this is my first time hearing this from you. So, okay, your wire,
The conductor, right?
You're saying loop it, make a circle. Okay.
Because it's not very strong in the beginning.
Yeah.
Might be just a very low gauge wire.
Yeah.
But you have a huge problem. Suicide.
Yes.
Poverty. Huge problem. Skinny little wire.
I was thinking to avoid voltage drop, still using circle. I just didn't imagine it this way. This is just a different way I think of my brain interprets this information. Not folding it necessarily, but you look at the same conductor, and this is something I got from Minecraft. Redstone is their electricity. It's their wire. It's literally their conductor. Okay? It only carries a charge 8 blocks before the voltage drops, and we have no more output coming out of that end. You have to put a redstone repeater in there. And
they do that in electric work.
With like circuitry and
Yeah.
stuff?
Yeah.
So it's the same kind of notion of voltage dropping across our conductor. We need a repeater of some sort, but the repeaters are spaced repetition of this circle practice, which is kind of an interesting take where it's like, it's bound to drop. It's bound to drop with resistance over Ohm's law, which I think it's fascinating too. We were talking about this last week. Like every kind of time we stumble across like a truth or like an original idea or a concept, it's very rare that things are laws in terms of like physics. I mean, I wouldn't say very rare, but it's less likely that it's a law versus a theory. Like there's like even a squared plus b squared equals c squared is still a theory. That's still not solidified as a law yet. You know what I mean? And that's very much always true, Pythagorean's theorem. But like, so when you come across a law that applies to this for Ohm's law, like I just think that is just gold, universal gold. And I think it resonates back with a ton of other things. Yeah. And this being one of them. Photography is one of them. What we do with cameras is one of them. This kind of like triad of like interdependency and like, but like, so I think that's cool, man. And like,
it's the same construction of the brain too. I mean, it's that axon, that the myelination, you increase the myelination around that axon.
What does this mean? It's like the circumference, the reps, the usage of that.
Right. So there is a substance called myelin that surrounds an axon. I don't know if you know what a neuron looks like.
It's like a starfish kind of thing almost?
Well, no, it's got a head.
Yeah.
It's got a big, long body. And then it has like fingers at the end, which are called dendrites. And neurons never touch each other.
Really?
There's a tiny little space, right, called the synaptic gap between them. And what happens is as this action potential, this electrical charge runs down this axon and it gets to these dendrites, that electrical impulse gets to the head of this, and it looks like each one of these heads looks just like this.
Yeah.
And all of these neurotransmitters, these chemicals, dopamine, norepinephrine, oxytocin, they're kind of attached to this.
Wow.
And they're just, when that electrical impulse hits it, it causes them to release into this tiny little space that's almost unmeasurable. And those chemicals jump across that gap, connect themselves to the next neuron, and it tells what impulse to fire and what chemical to release into the next one.
That's wild.
Especially when you talk about 120 billion neurons. But anyway, this axon, right, it's covered with this myelination. It's like a fatty substance. And the more myelination, the faster the speed of this electrical impulse.
Interesting.
And when you're a kid, it's not that big. And nutrition plays a humongous role. Yeah. This brings it right back into the sugar. My guess is if you looked at most axons, or a lot of them, with those rats, they would be, very thin and brittle.
High resistance.
Yeah. Versus this one that's nice and meaty with this, myelination.
Very conductive.
But anyway, so the whole notion of the neuron is just very similar to voltage drop as well.
Yeah. That's so cool how you're tying it back into that, because that's literally, that makes total sense to me after kind of hearing how Ohm's law works with resistance, and the sugar kind of intake can affect that. That makes total sense, because that's what's neat about the law, man. It's literally would apply anywhere there's electricity, right?
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah, he was 1820s, 1830s. I don't think it was pronounced George, but he was a German guy, and he would actually even feel the electricity, like the current,
really
get stronger. He would actually do these experiments, and current is what'll kill you.
Yeah,
it's not really just the volts.
Yeah,
but it's the current that flows out of that.
Yeah,
and so most people, they just want to push more.
Yeah,
but if that conductor isn't ready for it, the circuit blows, the wire melts.
Yeah,
and for me, most people, especially from my generation, Gen X, we're not ready for certain things. And this goes right back to addressing this issue that we have undertaken, especially around destructive decisions, notably suicide, not just in young people, but in adults, dealing with high voltage power linemen. When I talk to the guys, the people that are in charge, the initial conversation with them was, we have a 988 number, we have an EAP line, and this is what we're doing. And what they're really saying is their line, whether it's their individual or the people that are in charge of the union or whatever, they don't have the capacity on that line. Mm-hmm. So we have to build that capacity. And it's hard though, because their little line, their conducting line, can't take very much current, because they haven't been trained to deal with these kind of things. So it's easier to say, well, that's someone else's issue. Yeah. And and it's really interesting, because now when I talk to an older person and I bring up this, they're like, yeah, man, I don't know what to do about that. And to me, that current is very, very weak.
Yeah.
It's easy for them, though, to stand up in front of everybody and say, we're going to fix this issue, and scream big voltage out. But when it hits the line, it just melts the line quick, because they don't have the tools. So I don't know, there's a kind of smattering of
it's
thoughts
awesome
there.
No, it's incredible, man. I think it's awesome.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a really interesting way to look at.
Yeah, I'm excited to see all the insight that you come up with, and that's gonna get my brain going for sure. I know it will, and I'm excited to kind of see how this next kind of segment in next week, from my and Abby's perspective, coming down and checking out this Union Hall thing. Really excited.
Yeah, I wish you could have heard some of these guys beforehand.
Really?
Yeah, it was really interesting. Even the guy at the national level, it was from square one when I was like, hey, I need some pictures of some linemen that have, taken their own lives. And he's like, yeah, I'll get them for you. And as we got closer to the date, he kind of bailed on me. And then a week before my first presentation, I'm on the phone with him like, hey man, where's this info? And he's like, well, it's a very sensitive issue. And I was like, I know.
Yeah.
But it wasn't his unwillingness. He just has never had to deal with that kind of current on that line of discussion of issue that we're trying to tackle, and he doesn't know how to deal with it, right? He hasn't
seen those colors before.
Yeah. Yeah, I hadn't seen those colors before. That's a good way to bring it back. He really hasn't had the background because most Gen Xers, wash it off, pick it up, wash it off, and eat it.
Yep. Oh, no.
Right? That's just the way it is,
Yeah.
right? And we fix a scrape with some rubbing alcohol and
rub some dirt on it.
And we fix the internal scrapes with some brown alcohol.
Oh man.
And it's just the way that generation dealt with it. But they also had a certain level of right or wrong resiliency because they didn't have anyone do things for them and they did things on their own. So they developed not proper resiliency, but they developed a certain set of resiliency that steered them away from some of those, especially suicide. It was that wasn't really an option. When I was a kid, you never heard of someone dying by suicide. It's very rare. And if it did happen, no one talked about it. Mm-hmm. Like you wouldn't have even known it happened when I was a kid. I don't remember one teen suicide when I was a kid. Not one. And how do we go for a couple years in a row and have, 2 or 3 years ago, Rick and I went, 5 schools lost kids the week before we got there in one school year. Like that was never seen before.
No.
So.
5's back. Oh. Well, cool, man. Well, I appreciate you coming in. Thank you very much.
That's it?
That's it.
Nothing else? No good stuff?
I think we'll get back to the good stuff. I think we'll get back to the good stuff.
I know.